to have the opportunity to hear the speakers who have spoken tonight. These are people that you won't usually hear on the radio or television, nor me. You'll not usually hear me either on the radio or television, although I think what we're hearing tonight is pretty important. I was asked to say a few words about the origins of May Day, and some of you may know this already, but as someone said earlier, it's 120 years old, and actually it originated in North America. And it was originated by early socialists and trade unionist workers, many of them immigrants to this country, either first generation or second or third generation, because as my brother here noted, we're all immigrants in this country unless we're first people. And those people in the 1890s saw the same things that we're seeing here tonight. That is to say that working people, whatever their place of origin, whatever their skin color, whatever their mother tongue, are as exploited, maybe more exploited today, but they were pretty exploited in 1890. And they came to, I don't know, the breaking point where they said enough is enough, and that they were going to make demands that would fundamentally bring about fundamental change. As others have said here tonight, we need fundamental change. And they asked for, good grief, the 8-hour day. The 8-hour day. And they mobilized, and hundreds of people came out to Haymarket Square, and a provocateur threw a bomb. And that gave the opportunity to the police, who were massed in great numbers waiting for the event, to move in, and 8 of these people were killed. And many more were injured and hurt and jailed. And that was the opening shot for the fight for the 8-hour day. And I was thinking back to the 1990s when Mike Harris, when the Conservatives were in power, with the same people, by the way, many of the same people, Baird and two-tier Tony Clement, and who's the third one I'm missing here? Who's it? Flaherty, thank you. Former. These are the guys who brought us the 60-hour work week in Ontario. And the Liberals, who were elected in 2003 and promised, and got elected essentially on the promise that they were going to reverse all that, did change the 60-hour work week, but what they didn't change was the overtime provisions, which don't kick in Ontario until you hit 60 hours. So de facto, we have a 60-hour work week in Ontario, right? You know how that works. And if you're a person without status, well, 60 is probably just the beginning, just the door open. So we are celebrating May Day today with the same kind of, this is a day of assessment, if you will. It's sometimes it's a happy day, often it ain't. So I don't want to say Happy May Day to you. I want to bring you greetings on May Day from the Communist Party and sort of say, where are we at? Because that's what you do on May Day. You kind of assess, where are we at in this struggle of working people versus, in this century, multinational corporations with operations all over the world, willing to exploit and extort and oppress in every way that they can working people wherever they live. They're equal opportunity exploiters and oppressors in this regard. Recently, and not for the first time in the last year, I was at Sudbury. And you probably won't know, although I'll be curious how many of you do know, that there is a strike going on up there which is now in its 10th month. And walking the picket lines with the miners and smelter workers in Sudbury, they expect to be out another 6 months. And they're facing off against a Brazilian multinational corporation, which is a multinational in every respect. It doesn't operate in 2 or 3 countries or 10 or 12 countries. It operates in 40 or 50 countries. It's happy to exploit the natural resources and the workers who work in those industries right around the world. When they bought the Inco Corporation, and when their buddies from Switzerland, Extrata, bought the Falconbridge operation, which is the other mining operation in Sudbury, all of Sudbury ceased to be Canadian nickel mining. It all became foreign owned. And it was, of course, the people who approved that were the current Conservative government, the guys who did it to us in Ontario 15 years ago. We're now doing it to the whole country. And they said, sure, well, you sign on the dotted line here saying that you promise to keep your investments in Canada. We don't know what else is in the agreement because it's a secret agreement, although by now you'd think it would be public after everything this company has done. And allowed them to take over the entire nickel industry, big part of mining in this country. Likewise, U.S. Steel took over just down the road here from you, an hour from here or less, in Hamilton, the last remaining Canadian steel operation. And the first thing they did was lay everybody off, sell and they brought back 800 people just recently. And the reason was not that they wanted to start producing steel again, because there's, you know, with the economic recession, their homeland is in the U.S. and it's U.S. steel workers they're hiring first, although most of them are non-union and they make non-union wages. But they brought back 800 because they discovered that there were laws in this country which would make it more expensive for them to actually terminate these people and pay them severance and so on. And the poor laws that we have here are actually stronger here than they are in the States. And it would be cheaper for them to bring them back for a few months so that they could requalify for employment insurance and just do that for a while, right? Until maybe they figure they can undo some of the weak labor laws that we have here. So 10 months in, what's this big strike all about? How many of you know about this strike, by the way? Oh, you're a well-educated lot, I see. Better than the community that you come from, I would dare say. This strike is about pensions. That's essentially what it's about. Many of the strikes that are taking place now are about pensions. And pensions aren't a benefit. They're deferred wages. Those are wages that are owed to those workers. It's not something that they're getting that's extra. And all of these companies now are trying to change the pension plan from what they call defined benefit to defined contribution. You don't need to know all this. What you need to know is that they're trying to take back wages that they owe to those workers. That's plain and simple what it's all about. The same thing is happening in the public sector. That's why we in Sudbury, in Windsor last summer, had the longest strike in Canadian history by public sector workers. That's why last spring, not a year ago, the Canadian government, the U.S. government, all of the big three multinational auto companies put the guns to the head of Canadian auto workers and said, you will forfeit your wages, you will forfeit your pensions, you will forfeit everything we can take off you because we're in a recession and somebody's got to pay for all those bailouts for the big corporations. And you know, what I want to suggest to you, briefly now, because it's late and I know you all want to go home, or maybe want to lift your arms a bit, I don't know. But what this is about is it's a massive assault. It's a massive transfer of wealth from one class, working people, to another class. A very small percentage of super wealthy individuals and multinational corporations. What's changed since 1890 or since 1950 is borders have gone down. And capital can move all around the world whenever it wants. Not workers, unless capital wants them to move, in which case they put a lot of strictures on them, as we've already heard here very clearly tonight about the kind of rules that apply to people. It has to do with wage takes backs, not only pensions, but wages, benefits. It has to do with tax shifts. You're about to see on the 1st of July the HST come in, harmonized sales tax. And you might say, well, what's that got to do with me? What it has to do with you is that corporations that used to pay $4.5 billion in taxes aren't going to pay them anymore, but you will. You'll pay for them. Taxes on just about everything that you buy now are going to go up quite high. And those funds are going to come out of your pocket year after year.